Welcome to Let's Play Rule the Waves 3 as Germany starting in 1935. It's 1945 and I'm calling this episode War or Revolution. It could go either way. I'm really not sure. Unrest is still high at 6. I was worried the previous year when it was unrest 5. All the more reason to worry. Tensions with Britain are at 10 and they could easily culminate in a war very quickly or just fizzle out very gently in the way that it can do in Rule the Waves. I got a little bit of a rush to the head last time and got a bit ahead of myself, so I need to just backtrack to have a look at the year end of 1944. We're actually in March 45 now, and see where we're up to. And I'm also conscious that I'm a bit behind in the comments. Sorry about that, but new job, lovely holiday. We'll get onto it soon. So here's 1944. No real new ship designs. However, a lot of effort into making interesting, powerful planes that are going to have an enormous impact should war with Britain start soon. I've continued my re-equipping of my destroyer force, which is nearly at an end now, and modernizing up older ones, and have rebuilt 3 carriers for the jet age. Now, some of you have suggested that I may have got a little bit overexcited about the development of light jet fighters. There's an immature technology. Any light jet fighter that comes along might well have low reliability, for example, but, you know, what the heck? It's shiny and glittery, and it could well be a game changer. So we are 6, 7, 8, 9 months away from seeing what that fighter is going to be like. We refitted a battle cruiser with advances in fire control and radar. We are now level 4 in radar. The refit allows you to go up to level 5, which means that I probably need to go, I need to double check my carriers, but I think they're fine. I need to go down into the cruisers and do similar refits for them. Otherwise, yeah, as I said, unrest at level 6, Britain at a high tension, and still lots of upgrades and updating. This is a period of intense technological change. The budget's done reasonably well. It's gone from 500 to 510, a 10,000 increase. I think the previous year was also a 10,000 increase. It's good, but it's not, you know, breathtakingly good. So I'm not quite sure why that's feeding the unrest quite so much. Funds have grown from a 40,000 to an 80,000 surplus, which is nice. I probably don't want much more than that. It's a reasonable buffer to play with. Construction's slightly gone down, although I think that's just where we were at the end of the year, because we've actually had a huge churn of refits across the fleet. And techs have gone up from 414 to 419 technologies. Now, that does include 3 months of 1945, because I couldn't find out what the level was back in December 44. So 1945's tech advances may be a little less as a consequence, but still, that's enormous. You know, normally for a year, you'd expect tech advances to be something like 8, 9, 10, maybe 11 on an excellent year. So, wow, technological change is absolutely powering through. We're still allies with Italy and Japan. Unrest is relatively high. High tensions with Britain, medium with the USA and the USSR. I'd love for those to just slip down gracefully, and low with everybody else. So in a pretty good place, except for is it revolution or is it war? Go have a look at the detail. So we look at construction. Last cohort of modern destroyers is just a few months away from being completed, and 2 more updated carriers are months away. We already have one of the carriers updated to cope with jets, the venerable Graf Zeppelin itself, and 2 other Peter Strassers that I haven't modernized yet. And taking on board the comments from my friends saying, don't halve the carrier capacity of your carriers just because light jet fighters have come along, which is what happens. when you accommodate jets on them. Okay, I'm going to hold off on modernizing or rebuilding these two for jet fighters until I get the jet fighter and see what that's all like. Just have a little look here. We are, all right, it's 3 months away from progressing our jet fighter request. We've already got two developments, a new dive bomber and a new torpedo bomber on the stocks. So a big change in the equivalent of planes. B1 Saxon reminded me that I can go and compare, let's say, float plane. So I'd prefer not to have to build a new float plane. The performance improvements on float planes is always, really quite small. And if they're sorted by date, if we find us, we're here, Wolf 4. And what you can do is you compare against what you have and then decide if you like someone else's. So let's sort it. We can sort it by speed. So we're the second fastest. That's fine. And sort it by cruise speed, except we don't know the cruise speeds of anything else. Now, light range. I think light range is the most significant characteristics of a float plane. Yeah, they can carry bombs at medium and heavy loads, but honestly, I don't really care. I want them to go out and I want them to search. Now, according to this, there are some pretty poor performances, and we come out second at 264, 20 behind the leader, the Italian Caproni. Now, what that means is if I fancied it, I could right click and go on buy license, and they would give me a license to buy this plane for 800, which I think is a bit of a bargain, really. I mean, not necessarily for this model, but the whole buying a license thing. I'm actually going to say no, because yeah, it's 20 more miles, and that's nice, but everything else is same-ish. Firepower similar, maneuverability similar, bomb loads similar, and crucially, I don't know what the reliability of the Caproni is, and my Focke-Wulf's reliability is good. Now, good is the third out of 4 ratings, so I'm concerned that if I took a license out for the Caproni, I would find that its reliability is less good, Wolf. And if your light range is the most important thing for your scouting aircraft, then reliability is almost certainly your second most important. If we have a look at naval patrol aircraft, and I was by year, but it obviously remembers the sort. Now, okay, so we're in the middle here. 1942 design. It's 1945. Maximum speed. So again, we're the second fastest. Again, it's the Italians who are leading the way, only by 15 miles an hour. And if we have a look at the light range, again, we're second. Medium range, we're first. Heavy range, we're first amongst those that we know about, but that's ranked second-ish, second rank in firepower, maneuverability, and toughness. We don't really know very well. We have a look at the medium bombing. They don't sort very well. So we are 1500. The only thing is none of these take torpedoes, and nor do we. But we do take air-to-surface missiles at our heavy range. Again, they're good. So there's nothing really that I'm finding particularly interesting. There are no helicopters, and there are no heavy bombers in service. Medium bomber? Yes, that's quite old as a medium bomber. If sort by speed, again, we're the second. If we sort by light range, we're the furthest. By medium range and heavy range, as we know. Fine for firepower, bomb loads are all fine. I guess no for torpedoes. I would like that to be different. but again, air-to-surface missiles at our heavy range, and a heavy range of 680 miles, which is quite a bit more actually than our maritime patrol aircraft. So I'm not going to do that just now. There's no foreign plane that I'd like to buy on license, and the performance of my planes seems to be pretty up there, assuming that the figures given there are accurate and they're not intelligence failures or something like that. So that's all good. I'm just going to look at my to-do list. Let me just run down through this. So, I write down stuff from the comments that you give to think, oh, well, that's interesting. So first of all, I need to pursue and carry on the refit program, upgrading the fire control, upgrading the radar. That's super important, everybody. RB Fisher CS recommended sending one of these armed merchant cruisers to the Mediterranean to substantially upgrade its ability to pose a mine threat. I'm just going to press M, send it to the Mediterranean. Stonewall Jackson, nice sir that you're watching this channel, has come up with a lot of interesting suggestions for new carrier names. So that's like Max Immelman, which is really, really helpful. So thanks very much. I'll be using that in the future. The One True Griswold suggested that I don't think of the Mediterranean Fleet Division as the Mediterranean, but as the overseas one. Might be in the Mediterranean or might go to the Caribbean or wherever. I haven't really got bases anywhere outside of the Baltic, Northern Europe, and the Mediterranean, but if I did, then I think that's actually conceptually really a nice way of thinking about it. Sabre suggested don't dink around with the Mediterranean, focus on your core fleet. If you're going to have war with Britain, that's where the action is. And yeah, I see the logic of that as well. With all of these new destroyers coming in, but a few of them aren't in divisions yet. So I need to adjust that and probably reorganize the whole of this division editor thing. One of you also suggested that I go to manual officer maintenance. The automatic officer assignment is really useful at the beginning because there's so much to do, but actually, once that's all done, you're better off, get better commanders if you do it manually. So thanks for Akarin for that suggestion. So here for Destroyer Division 1, we haven't got anybody. Let's assign a commander. Here, sorted by ability. So we've got lots of unknown. It's destroyers, so I could appoint either a Fregatten Captain, Capitan, or a Capitan's C. The aboves are all employed except for Fregatten Captain Theismann, who's a speed enthusiast, can be a bit wearing on the engines like that, and's a poor ship handler. So although he's above average, he's seen quite negative skills. So I think as a ship captain, he might be fine, but as a division leader, being a poor ship handler doesn't sound great. Although even as ship captain, it might mean that the ship goes off in some direction. So let's do Bethering. Well connected. He's a sportsman. I mean, yeah, who doesn't love fair play and all that stuff? So there you go. Nice, solid, average. That's just sorted that one. So yeah, I'm going to have to sort that one out. And I just noticed here, these two ships aren't assigned to a division. Of course, you need to go to the Flug carriers. The armed merchant cruisers don't go to divisions, and then these should do, and then the corvettes don't. So I'm going to have a little nerdy time reorganizing the divisions, and I'll come back and explain all of that. And the other thing, since war is looming, I'm going to mobilize everybody and all the air bases because I want the qualities to get up to a proper amount. So that will take a little time. But as you can see, the ASW, for example, is only 5 when it should be 8, or 6 when it should be 10. And then I need to reorganize the air groups. So I have a lot of air groups on a minimal strength, but high quality. What you can do is, for example, I can take this fighter and I can change the number there. Instead of 4, I don't know, I can make it 20. And doing that, the experience stays the same. Great. Equally, some planes are now capable of nighttime operations. Previously, it had only been torpedo bombers, but now medium bombers and patrol aircraft can go to change role and make them night capable. There they go. That does lower the experience level 1 down, but is an enhanced capability. And the experience hopefully will go to good in a few months' time to change all of that. And we've also got a lot of planes in these Baltic air bases. They need to be deployed to Norway and to Greece. And some of the air bases in Norway in particular probably need expanding. There's quite a lot to do in that, which I'll do off camera, and then we'll review it. Okay, after much clicking, I've done all of that. I've found that if you sort by role, you can go and pick up, say, the medium bombers here, and right-click. You can change their number all at once, so all of those squadrons can have the same number, which is helpful. Sadly, you can't click on them and click on change role and then make them all night capable, for example. Do that one by one. Or if we go to the air bases, Libau, Reval, Riga, Danzig, Pillau, so Kolberg, Schwunemunde are all in reserve, and all the others in Greece and Norway and North Sea coast are active. That little job done. I'm overcapacity, so I'm building air bases, but actually they're not overcapacity in actual aircraft. It's going to take a while for the air units to be rebuilt. Oh, it's not letting me actually have overcapacity. Oh, what a bore. Back to clicking. Okay, I've got rid of the overcapacities. So in order to reorganize your divisions, don't destroy them, because that will get rid of their experience, which is valuable. All you have to do is clear all ships, the division. Just going to do that and then get reassigning according to a new model. Okay, so I've nerdled around with all of this lot and have tried to create a very deliberate structure where you have the battle cruisers, and then you have the armored cruisers that support the battle cruisers, and then you have the light cruisers that support them both, and then you have destroyer divisions that screen each one of those three, and then the same for the carriers and the armored cruisers that support the carriers and the light cruisers that support the carriers. And I've sort of used a numbering system to help me remember who's doing what where, but you may well find it more helpful to draw this out. So let me just go to here and to there. Here's my conception. So the battle force, the cruisers with their squadron, and a screen, the 10th Destroyer Division. And then there's the armored cruisers that are in support of the battle cruisers, and they have the 11th Destroyer Division. And then there's the light cruisers, who are screened by the 12th Division. And then correspondingly, the carriers, there's the carriers themselves, screened by the 20th Destroyer Division. The armored cruisers supporting the carriers, 21st Destroyer Division. And then the second light cruisers scouting. Not that carriers really need scouting, it's more just making sure that they don't bump into somebody unwise whilst they're steaming about, plus of course providing more AA screen, and they are provided by the 22nd. Then there is the overseas force, currently deployed in the Mediterranean with the 3rd light cruisers, and they have their own screen as well. And then finally there's a bit of a reserve of the old destroyers, which I've called torpedo boats divisions in the German style. And they could augment some of these forces, or they could be put onto trade protection, depending upon how things are going. And I did a bit of a check because I had a sense whilst I was doing this that I was putting the right ship to do the right job. But I've done a little bit of a check on the weapons platforms contained with each of these forces. So here we go. So the battle force, unsurprisingly, has no strike planes and no fighters, but it does have 18 scout planes. It's got 80 heavy guns, 38 medium, so medium is 10 to 6 inch. It's got nearly 300 light guns, mainly 5 inch. It's got 648 worth of heavy AA. I haven't calculated medium and light. I'm sure it's weaker because I've focused primarily on heavy AA. Nearly 200 torpedoes, 180 ASW value, and getting towards 500 mines, 100 of which are with the armed merchant cruiser. Carrier Strike Force, of course, has the strike planes, no heavy guns, just 16 medium, 300 light guns, but more importantly, 722 heavy anti-air in that force. Quite a few torpedoes, just because they're on destroyers. Slightly stronger ASW, primarily because actually I think it's the same as the battle force, except the carriers themselves each add 10 ASW and 90 mines. And then the overseas force has a couple of scout planes, 24 medium guns, 39 light, and the rest is all proportional, except because of the armed merchant cruiser attached to them, they can deploy 226 mines, which is not insignificant. Then this reserve force, obviously the interesting bit is they can add 145 ASW, another 160 mines, another 50 torpedoes to any force. Not much of a heavy AA because they're older ships and it's difficult to refit them. And then finally the corvettes, similar number of light guns, but that doesn't matter. What matters is they're 200 ASW, and they're also able to push out 190 mines. That's the overall weapons systems and how they're chunked up, and I'm very happy with that organization of the force. I recommend that you do this kind of thing, but obviously just on a scrap of paper, just so it's clear in your mind who's doing what. And obviously I've done this to the nth degree to show you, but just, reflectively making sure that the heavy guns are with the battle cruisers and the heavy AA or the heavier AA, the mines, they're all with the right kind of force doing the right kind of job. Let's go back to here, zoom in, and let's push the big button so that we actually get stuff done rather than just organizing everything. Much as I love organizing. Commissioned another coastal submarine. I am tempted to have a little bit of a spurt of coastal submarines if Britain's going to be our main opponent, maybe for 4, 5, 6 months or something, just to get that going. Have a look at this French light cruiser. Meh, perfectly standard. So improved light and medium anti-air effectiveness with a radar breakthrough and a new jet as a private venture. Well, so that, yes, 2 months early. So what are we looking at? Well, 500 miles an hour, bearing in mind that's nearly double the speed. 400 crews. I think the only trouble with that is that it might be difficult for them to escort the so much slower strike planes. 277 miles. I think that's not too bad, actually. I feared that the light jet fighter would have short range, but if memory serves me right, I think that's pretty good. 16 firepower, 11 maneuverability, 11 toughness, some bombs. Do you want that kind of stuff? Well, I mean, what's not to like? At least it gives us something to contrast in a couple of months' time when we get the second jet fighter, the one that we've been building. That's all fine in May. Right. We can do nothing. We can send a note which would have a question mark response. Who knows how that might be taken? It might increase tensions, it might reduce tensions. We can mobilize all our ships in reserve. Well, actually, we've done that already, so let's just do that anyhow. And leader allocates more funding to the Navy. So we currently have 515. That's actually gone up 5,000 or something from the beginning of the year. So that's already good. So I'm concerned what that's going to do to unrest, but I can't avoid it. They just want to give us more money. Another submarine commissioned 51 ships have finished working up. That's the mobilization part through. And then in another 3 months, hopefully that will sort things out. Being asked to review which nation's most likely enemy in a future war. So budget and tension would be anybody, minus budget, minus tension, and of course minus prestige if we don't see any risk of war. And of course, if we pick on Britain, that will, stir things up a bit. I mean, revolution or war. Let's not try and get rid of this unrest. I'm not seeing any options. I mean, aside from that one where unrest was go down with lowering tensions. So the Italians, and it's rumored to be faster than our fastest fighter, but they haven't seen our jet yet. All fine. Rebellion in Cyprus. Okay. Italy reduced spending because of social discontent. The leader, we haven't seen how much our money has gone up by yet. Oh, there's a lot of news though, isn't there? Oh, obviously a lot of working up news. That's why there's so much of that. Yep. Oh, fine. Okay, so from 115 to 142. So no rise in unrest yet, but tensions with Britain have gone to 11. Oh yes, I wanted to move this to Northern Europe. I've made the Stuttgarts scouts for the battlecruiser force, and I've sent the 2 6-inch gun cruisers off to the Mediterranean because that seemed like better ability to look after them. So the Bremens joined the Stuttgarts as the scouts, the light scouts for the battlecruisers, and the 3 Berlins, with their brilliant heavy anti-aircraft, will be with the carrier force. Oh, I'm not building any extra dock. Eventually, it'll be important for the aircraft carrier. There's a limit for the aircraft carrier at the moment. It goes up every year. I think it's about 48,000 at the moment, but that will increase. And of course, it can impact any kind of super battlecruiser, super fast battleship that I decide to build. Funds increasing, whilst the number of stuff on construction is going down. The tension's so high, I would like to say, for example, put the runes into refit in order to make their directors better, and more importantly, take them up to full strength there. Do have to lose medium and light anti-air. Bit painful. I'm going that route. I could obviously reduce the number of heavy anti-air, but I'm loath to do that under the circumstances. Let's just push them in for a quick refit. A bit painful, obviously, because you lose the crew quality. But they'll be back in 3 months. Steady my hand on the rest of the cruiser force. Just see if 11 stays at 11. We're going to be. I need to find a post that brings up. Well, obviously there's 2 incompetents, but I would never appoint an incompetent. I wonder if there's someone. You see, he's above average, but this poor ship handling does put me off quite a bit. I choose him, the poor administrator for the Reichsgraf, but I'm not enjoying him. Yes to him, and presumably that, and our new prototype fighter is ready for evaluation. Here's the one that we currently have developing, the private one, 505. So it's the slowest, but it's, well, it's not quite the rangiest. Medium range is very similar. I mean, this Feisler is actually looking pretty good. That's all good. Abilities are better there, but that's all the same. Actually, slightly better bomb loads. But I guess the reason for keeping this is that it's 2 months in advance. It's still got 9 months to develop. It's 2 months in advance. I did convert the carriers a little bit too early. I mean, let's call it a year too early, but anyhow. Well, actually, I suppose technically, I didn't notice that I could start developing light jet fighters. I could have been several months ahead. Next time you see that tech here for carriers, it actually means that you can develop the fighter. I think the Henschel would be most likely, but it's so similar that I'm going to stick with the Feisler. Oh, I must select one of the offered models. Okay. Well, in that case, I will pick the Henschel. It's a bit faster. It's a tiny bit faster, tiny bit longer range, tiny bit better bomb load. I guess it will give me a chance to see the liabilities of both of them, and then I can decide to obsolete one of them. But I'm not bothered about the float plane, rebellion in Cyprus. Michael 153 is a hangar queen, so poor reliability. That's a shame. Before I forget, light cruiser, coastal submarine for auto build. Get that going for a few months. And let's have a look at these aircraft types. So that will be this new Heinkel with poor reliability. So even now, you get poor reliability on some of these planes, which is a great shame. Okay, I'm going to pause there. We're halfway through the year. We've had a really big organization to make sure we're as prepared as we can be. If it's war, if it's revolution, who knows what's going to happen. So thanks for watching and join me next time. Bye for now.